some point in our lives, we have likely been on a roller coaster at some point. However, all roller coasters are not built the same. Some can be utterly terrifying, while others are known to be incredibly dangerous. Today, we will take a look at the 10 scariest roller coasters of all time. So stay tuned to the end because the final coaster on this list will give you chills. Number 10. The Mindbender was the world's largest indoor roller coaster in 1986. This ride was known for being one of the most intense roller coasters ever built, but it was closed after a crash that took place shortly after it opened. The carts were traveling at speeds of around 100 kilometers per hour when they struck a pillar of the building and sent 4 passengers into the concrete below. This coaster was also known worldwide as being the self-proclaimed fastest roller coaster in existence, so its crash was certainly unexpected. Of the 4 passengers, 3 lost their lives, and 1 lived to spread the news and awareness of the crash. The survivor, Rod Chaco, frequently does interviews about his survival of the incident and has been insisting for years that the mall install a memorial to honor the 3 individuals who lost their lives that day. Mindbender was reopened later on after several safety modifications were made. Number 9. Millennium Force is the name given to a massive roller coaster in Ohio located at Cedar Point. This coaster was so massive at the time of its launch that it inspired an all-new category of roller coasters to be created known as the Giga Coaster. Millennium Force measures over 310 feet tall and was one of the first coasters to ever be created, utilizing a new type of elevator lifting mechanism in exchange for the classic chain-driven lifters that are seen on most roller coasters. Millennium Force is known to reach speeds that exceed 93 miles per hour, making it one of the fastest roller coasters in the world. When combining this ride's extreme height and unbelievable speeds, you're almost guaranteed to have an adrenaline rush strong enough to pass on to your grandchildren. Number 8. The Big Dipper was a popular roller coaster located at Battersea Park in London. The ride originally opened in 1951 and it was the park's main attraction. It was known for being one of the most ambitious and thrilling roller coasters of its time. This coaster was wildly popular and was one of the main reasons that Battersea Park is such a recognizable name to this day. However, this likely isn't for the reasons that you may expect. In 1972, a cart broke free from the ride after the brake system had failed. This caused the cart to go flying backward, resulting in it jumping the rails and then plummeting to the ground below. 2 additional carts then crashed on top of it. 5 small children lost their lives to this ride, with another 13 becoming seriously injured. Experts believe that the crash was caused by unforeseen damage that the ride had incurred from a fire that had taken place 2 years before. Now, this was never confirmed, but the ride was promptly shut down and dismantled, with the rest of the park closing down 2 years later. Number 7. Kingda is a large roller coaster ride located at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. At one point in history, this roller coaster was said to have been the tallest and second fastest roller coaster to ever be built. Kingda has brought in copious amounts of revenue for Six Flags over the years and is one of the park's lead attractions. However, its history isn't without incident. Back in 2005, a bolt on the ride failed, which caused major amounts of friction on the travel cables. This friction sent shards of metal flying into the air and potentially onto guests. After this, the ride was once again shut down after being struck by lightning in 2009. Finally, in 2012, a young boy was rushed to the hospital after being severely injured by a bird that was flying in the path of the coaster. Over the years, many safety adjustments have been made to the ride and it is currently fully operational. Number 6. Takabisha is a roller coaster that is located in Yamanashi, Japan. This coaster is most famous for being the steepest roller coaster in the world at the time of its construction. It contains a drop of 121 degrees, which may as well straight shoot to the ground below. The ride was custom built and is about 1,000 meters long, which is a considerable size for a roller coaster. It is driven by a motor system that can launch guests up to 100 kilometers per hour, with several twists, turns, and barrel rolls scattered throughout. This ride is not for the faint of heart, and is known for being one of the most extreme roller coasters in Japan. Number 5. Much like Millennium Force, this ride is also considered a Giga Coaster because it is ridiculously tall. King's Dominion, located in Virginia, is home to the Intimidator 305. This ride was named after the late NASCAR driver Dale Earnhardt, who tragically lost his life while racing at the Daytona 500 in 2001. Dale was known for being an extremely aggressive and relentless driver, thus earning himself the nickname, the Intimidator. This ride certainly lives up to the precedent that Dale set on the track, as this coaster is also aggressive and relentless. The Intimidator is far superior to its numerous sister coasters, as the Intimidator has an initial drop of over 85 degrees. Now, it may not be the fastest coaster on this list, but it is certainly one of the most intense. As it is, this drop is only a few degrees shy of being a straight down plummet towards the earth. This ride has left many of its occupants breathless and in shock, as the G-force of such an incredibly sharp drop is unimaginable on the human body. If you're looking for a serious thrill, look no further than the Intimidator 305. Number 4. The GateKeeper is the name given to another roller coaster that is located at Cedar Point, the same park that is home to the Millennium Force. The GateKeeper is in a league of its own though, as it is a wing roller coaster that can travel at speeds of up to 67 miles per hour. A wing roller coaster is much more terrifying than a classic roller coaster that many of us have likely been on. A wing roller coaster suspends its riders on either side of the track, meaning that there are no supporting structures above or below you. You are just suspended in the air, being ripped and pulled at incredible speeds, while staring at nothing but the ground 164 feet below you. Much like the Intimidator 305, this coaster's drop is nothing to laugh at, and riders are going to be inverted 6 times throughout their experience. The entire ride takes around 2 minutes and 20 seconds to complete, but it will leave you with a memory that's going to last a lifetime. Number 3. Manta is a remarkable roller coaster, not because of its intense speed or sharp inclines, but for an entirely different reason. This coaster was named after manta rays that can be found in the ocean. In fact, this coaster is more of a water ride than anything. It is the only flying coaster of its kind and is located at SeaWorld in Orlando, Florida. This coaster is incredibly smooth, unlike many of the others on this list. The coaster makes a total of 4 inversions, with one of these taking place over 98 feet in the air. The entire ride is designed to make riders feel as though they are manta rays in the ocean. But rather than being in the ocean, they're soaring through the open air. While waiting to board the ride, visitors will be surrounded by a floor-to-ceiling aquarium to help distract them from the rather lengthy wait times that are associated with Manta. Number 2. Banshee was a roller coaster that was first unveiled in 2013 and was considered to be the world's longest inverted roller coaster at the time. 7 twists, turns, and inversions take place on this track, which is just 4,124 feet long. The ride was named after the assumption that guests would scream like a banshee when they experienced the many surprises that this coaster has to offer. However, one of the most memorable surprises may not take place on the ride itself, but in the park that the ride is located in. Guests are advised to stay alert at all times in the park, as it has been a hotspot for paranormal activity over the years. Many of those who visit King Island, located in Mason, Ohio, experience disembodied voices, screams, and mysterious sightings that have been taking place since the construction of the park in the early 70s. Many have said that these voices are nothing more than the echoes of those on the nearby rides, but you can never be too sure. Number 1. The Derby Racers were 2 wooden roller coasters that were built in 1911 and 1937 in Massachusetts. The original Derby Racer was built by a man named Fred Pierce, with it costing over $140,000 to construct. The ride became extremely popular amongst thrill seekers, as it was built during a major roller coaster boom that took place between 1900 and 1910. The coaster was created in a figure-8 design and was the second largest coaster ever built. On the surface, the Derby Racer may sound like a great time, however, this coaster was one of the most deadly to have ever been built. Almost immediately after the coaster was opened to the public, a young man was thrown from the ride and severely injured. 2 weeks later, the ride was reopened. A few years after that, a man was killed after being thrown out of the ride for similar reasons. Once again, in 1932, a couple was wounded and rushed to the hospital after yet another incident. Finally, in 1929, another occupant was tossed from the ride. Following all of these horrible incidents, several laws were passed to prevent such tragedies from taking place in the future. The original Derby Racer was finally shut down in 1936. Though, the story doesn't end there. Following the closure of the original Derby Racer, a second version of the ride was opened in 1937 near the same location. This ride was designed by Harry C. Baker, a well-known roller coaster designer from the early 1900s. There is very little information about this revised version of the ride, though it was ultimately demolished just 10 years after its construction. Some sources seem to suggest that there were multiple injuries or deaths aboard the ride as well, but these claims cannot be confirmed due to a major lack of available information about the ride. Either way, if you come across any ride titled Derby Racer, it's probably best to just pass it on by. Which one of these roller coasters did you think was the scariest? Which ones would you even consider riding? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to click that like button and hit the notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future videos.